What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 66 to the show we go. We have Ed Hand, as always, and myself, Andrew Parker. Today's episode, it's the Davis Daniel episode. He's a pitcher for the Los Angeles Angels, actually. He's a 2023 Fall Star for the Arizona Fall League. So I do have a question about that, as we'll get into. But before we start diving in to some baseball-related things, you're obviously back at training at spring training. That fired up. But I want to talk about the off season first. I guess, like, what did you do outside of baseball? Like, did you get to go on any cool trips? Did you, I guess, how was it for you?
Yeah, it was good. Obviously, shorter off season than usual going to fall league, but went and got some innings that I needed, and then after that, it was shortly there after I got home. Me and my wife for our anniversary went to New York. Spent a few days up there, so that was a lot of fun, and then kind of jumped right back into training and just enjoyed being at home with family and friends, and had a good time back home.
And so
this was a big year for you. This was a really big year for you between the Fall Stars thing, but even before that, you made your major league debut.
Yep. Yeah.
What was the call like for you? Were you expecting it?
A little both. I mean, so I actually got called up 2 seasons ago for 2 days and didn't get a chance to pitch. So at that point, I had been put on the roster, and so kind of after I didn't make a debut and coming into this past year, we were kind of waiting for that time. Had a little bit of an injury going in spring training, took some time to get back. But I mean, that was kind of the hopes and plans all season, was to get back healthy and get a chance to go up there and show what I can do. And I think it came a little quicker than I expected coming off the IL, but it was right when it needed to happen. And I feel like I took advantage of the time I was up there, and I felt really good.
Who was the first batter you faced in the majors, and what was the result?
First batter, I walked on 4 pitches, and it was honestly, I blacked out. I couldn't even tell you who it was.
Okay, do you remember your first strikeout then?
Yes, the first strikeout was fastball up to right-handed hitter for Cleveland. That's so bad that I don't know that.
You got the baseball, though, right?
Do what?
Yeah, no, you remember the important part of it, which is how it happened. Like, who cares who it was, but you got the strikeout, and that's what matters.
Yeah, it was man on third, 1 out, so I needed it, and I can't remember who it was though. It's terrible, but.
Did you grow up playing baseball? Were you like a kid who was like really like which team did you grow up following?
I grew up a Braves fan. Being in Alabama, it's Braves country down there. So, born in Atlanta, moved to Alabama when I was in 2nd grade. So, Braves fan my whole life.
Gotcha. Was your favorite player a pitcher growing up? Like, did you know you wanted to be a pitcher?
A little both. I mean, I was always a big Tim Hudson fan. But I played shortstop in high school, and I think up until like my senior year, if you would ask me, I would have wanted to go and play shortstop somewhere, and then kind of made a big jump and started throwing the ball a little harder going into senior year of high school, and that was kind of when it became pretty obvious. When I hit 200 in high school and started throwing the ball harder, it became a pretty obvious choice after that.
So I know this is probably against the law in the state of Alabama to ask this question since you went to Auburn. But growing up, though, did you like Alabama at all, or was it always Auburn?
So my dad went to North Carolina, and my mom's from Tennessee, so they didn't really have any ties to either. So when you move to Alabama, they always say you got to pick one or the other. Honestly, growing up, my dad worked with a guy that went to Alabama and a guy that went to Auburn. And it was kind of whoever was better that year. Those were the games we went to. So we went to a lot more Alabama games than Auburn. But, like 2010 when Cam Newton was there, I think we went to every home game for Auburn that year. And that was really the first taste of Auburn, and when I, decided that I liked it there a little more. But, I definitely pulled for Alabama at some point while I was growing up.
That's okay. I won't clip that or anything and send it to any Auburn. I mean, I'm telling you, like, I live in the Northeast now, and but I went to an SEC school. I went to Mizzou. Yeah, whatever. I get it, whatever. But we're the bottom of the barrel, except for this year. But
yeah, good team this year.
It's just like, yeah, it was fun to watch for the first time in probably my adult life that they were actually good. But it is kind of funny to think about that. It's like, up here in the Northeast, people don't really truly realize like how intense it is down in the South. Like if you live in the state of Alabama, it's like you're on their side or you're on our side, and there's like no in between. You can't like play both sides. So I know that's like a hot topic down there.
Oh, absolutely. I think we caught a little bit of heat for joining the bandwagon of whoever was better. But through and through Auburn now. So
I did want to ask you a question about your time at Auburn, because they've actually produced, like, I feel like, you only hear about, the Vanderbilts, the Floridas, the Wake Forest in college baseball, but Auburn has sneakily been producing some pitchers lately. Like I mentioned to you a little off air, like, Richard Fitz and Hayden Mullins and Casey Mize is a pretty good one that pops out too. But what was it like, I guess, just pitching for a team like that? Obviously, you guys were facing stiff competition every single day in the SEC play. It's no joke, man. So what was it like, I guess, just pitching there and being around the talent that was on the roster with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my freshman year, all three of our weekend starters have pitched in the big leagues. We had Keegan Thompson throwing on Fridays, Casey Mize on Saturdays, and then I threw on Sundays. So I don't know how many teams in the country can say that. But it was pretty cool watching those guys and learning from those guys. Keegan was a little bit older, had some experience under his belt, and really helped me a lot. And Casey, Casey was just a freak and could do whatever he wanted with the baseball, and was very helpful for me as well. So those, just being around those two in general, especially as a young guy. And then, as I got older, there was a group of younger guys that were really talented as well. You got Tanner Burns and Richard Fitz and some of those guys that really, turned it on while they were there, and, have gone on to have successful professional careers so far. And I'm sure a lot of those guys will pitch in the big leagues as well.
So you were drafted 3 times total, right? The Cubs, the Brewers, and then you ended up with the Angels. But you had Tommy John surgery in 2019. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Were you surprised to have been drafted right after that?
Not too surprised. Like the situation out of high school, obviously was just, I was pretty dead set on going to college. So
right.
Back then when they had 40 rounds, they would take guys on flyer picks anyway. And then after sophomore year, being a draft eligible sophomore, that was kind of the options we weighed. It was like, I could go now if, they're able to get up to the dollar amount that we were asking for. But at the end of the day, we knew that I had kind of pitched myself into a position that, like, God willing, whatever happens, like I was going to hopefully have an opportunity to still play professional baseball. And, that was a gamble we took. Obviously it didn't really pay off, but, put me in the place that I'm supposed to be. And, everything's worked out.
So that first year, 2019, were you just rehabbing and then the 2020 season got canceled? So you kind of just did what you would have been doing anyway?
Yeah, so I had the surgery April of 2019 and got drafted and went straight out to Arizona and just rehabbed. Rehabbed there the whole year, came home in like December, right before Christmas. And, the plan was to go back out in January. So I went back out to start my rehab in January. The goal was to hopefully be back around the mid-season point. And then obviously the season got canceled and everybody went home. And so I did a lot of that rehab on my own at the house. And I was actually living back in Auburn taking classes. So I did a lot of my rehab stuff there. And then went to Instructs at the end of 2020. And that was really kind of my first taste of professional baseball and pitching since surgery. So that went really well. And then I ended up actually making, like, my professional debut was at Major League Spring Training in 21. So that was a pretty crazy year, kind of going from the couch to big league spring training was my first taste of professional baseball. It was pretty wild.
Yeah, it's one question that we've asked a few guys that have rehabbed their those year-long injuries. But what do you do to kind of keep your mind healthy during that? Because you've been an athlete your whole life, and suddenly you can't do what you've always done. What did you do to make sure that you were okay not being able to do that for a bit while you regained your strength?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, there were some things that a lot of people, might look as unfortunate that kind of helped me out. I think, first off, just being in a new place. I had never, being from Alabama, going to Auburn, I had never really ventured off, and so all of a sudden I'm living in Arizona by myself, and I'm going to rehab. It was still kind of a new environment, new place, new exciting things. So like at that point in my life, I was still very excited about the future and had a lot of things to work towards, and so it was pretty not necessarily easy, but it was easier being in a new place, and
Were you in Tempe?
I was, yes.
Yeah, I went to Arizona State for a bit, and I remember the stadium
Oh,
being
nice.
real close there. So yeah, I can see how that'd be a good time for you there, but especially
Yeah,
being new there. I miss it every day.
yeah. And then 2020, I mean, I probably would have drove myself crazy if I would stayed at home. So that's why I ended up going back to school and taking some classes, and being in Auburn, and lived with one of my best friends over there that was also in pro ball at the time. And so that kind of that all helps, just being back in that environment, and instead of being at home and thinking about it all the time. So that helped a lot as well.
Yeah, and you got called up, even though you didn't end up pitching that season, but 2021, you got called up.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, the Angels move fast. They move really fast.
Let's see. No, it wasn't 21. It was 22. Sorry. In 21, I went, started the year in high A and finished that year in triple A. And then 22, went to triple A and got called up in June.
Gotcha. And it was just for 2 days, and then was it like an injury? Was it just like somebody else came back? Like what happened?
Yeah, they had the long relief guy had pitched like 4 or 5 innings the night before, and everybody that was in AAA that was on the 40 man that was lengthened out to be a starter had either just pitched or were already up, so they needed an arm with some length, and kind of in a just in case situation. And so I was up there for 2 days, and then I can't remember who it was. Maybe Taylor Ward was coming off of the IL, so they needed to open a roster spot. And by that point, the long guy Barrio was, 2 days back after pitching, so he was ready to go again. So at that point, I was the move.
Gotcha. Now, did you find yourself more motivated after that? Like you got that little taste, but you didn't get into a game or anything, or was it more frustrating?
Uh, I mean, there was definitely like some frustration, just not necessarily with anybody, just kind of like frustrated because I was so close, but didn't really get the opportunity. I mean, that's all you ask for in this game is an opportunity to go out and prove that you can do it. And so, I mean, once I got back to Salt Lake, there was a few weeks of like being really hard on myself and chasing and doing everything I could to try and get back. And ultimately, I struggled for a few weeks after coming back down, and I think that's part of the reason is I was still kind of in a headspace of like I was almost there. And so once I kind of came back to earth and realized like, I got to put my work in and get back to it, and, prove that I can pitch in AAA and get another opportunity, I think, ultimately ended up motivating me a lot, and helps me, become better and get to where I am now.
So I'm gonna shoot to the fall league. Obviously, you just came off of it. Um, I had to I double taked when I saw the numbers and like, holy cow. We've had a few guys on this show this offseason that were pitching in the fall league, and I'm pretty sure you probably had better numbers than both of them. So I am curious. So obviously the fall league, it's a good collection. It's a great collection of talent. So obviously just being there already was like a notch in your belt. But then you get named Fall Star, which I know you didn't pitch in the game, but it's still a pretty cool honor. I would assume that you were named to the team. What was it? I guess just going through the fall league, facing the elite players that you did. I guess what was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I needed the innings after coming off an injury. I needed to throw some more, and so we were exploring some options in the off season that I needed to do, and ultimately fall league was the best option. And there's a lot of really talented players. You got a lot of young guys, and some guys that can really swing it. And, for me, I kind of just stepped in and I had the luxury of knowing that, hey, I had pitched well in the big leagues. And at that point I had the confidence that, I know that my stuff can play at that level. And so kind of stepping back and going to the fall league, I think for me, it was mostly just development and working on my stuff and, trying to pound the zone and throw strikes and get ahead of hitters and all those, little things that help progress you as a pitcher. And so, for me, that was the main focus. And I think I did a pretty good job of going out there executing and getting my work in.
So you did mention that obviously, having that success in the big leagues kind of helped your mindset going into the fall league. But there was something I did notice. So you didn't start at all once you got called up. And I think I had looked, you started in every game you pitched in, I think going all the way back to like 21, maybe in the last time you came into a game. What was it like, I guess, adjusting yourself to coming out of the pen for the first time in such a long time, especially at the major league level?
Yeah, absolutely. It was definitely, an adjustment. I think, for my debut, I came in the middle of an inning. Bases were empty though, so I was able to kind of settle in and almost treat it like a start. I will say the jog from the bullpen is a little different than walking from the dugout, but you add the adrenaline and everything else of being in a big league stadium. It took me a minute to catch my breath and settle down, but as I, walking the first guy on 4 pitches. So that was definitely an adjustment with coming out of the pen. But, ultimately at the end of the day, once you step on the mound and there's a batter in the box, it's the same game. I think the biggest adjustment was my second outing in Minnesota. I came in with bases loaded, 2 outs, and that was kind of like and it was, sold out crowd. That was the night that they were trying to clinch. And so that was a pretty fun night. And it, I enjoyed that experience of getting to come into a big situation, and that stuff was a lot of fun, and just another notch on my belt to continue to try and make myself better and learn from situations and all that. But it was definitely an adjustment.
Is spring training different for you now that you've gotten into a game in the majors? Are you approaching it differently?
No, I definitely feel more comfortable. I think there's definitely an extra added level of comfort coming into spring training and knowing who the guys are, and what, no matter who it is, whether it's the best player or the worst player on the team, like everybody knows who you are, and you're able to say hey and have some camaraderie and things like that. It's definitely a little more comforting this year coming into camp and knowing everybody in the staff and whatnot. So that definitely helps. But as far as my approach, everything stays the same. I mean, I feel like going into spring the last couple of years, I felt really good coming in and coming out, other than the injury. So, but as far as mentality and everything else, I think it remains the same.
So I don't know if you know the answer to this just because of the timing and everything with it, but generally, it's been my experience that the pitchers hang out with the pitchers, the hitters hang out with the hitters. What does Shohei Ohtani do? Is he just like with everybody? Is he by himself? But what does, and if that's not something you can answer, don't worry about it. But as somebody who's been in the clubhouse with him, is he just like with everybody?
Yeah, I mean, when I got called up this year, he had just had he had just gone on the IL and left to have his surgery, so he was only there for like a couple days. But from the time I've been around him in spring training the last few years, and the couple days that I was with him in the locker room, I mean, everybody loves Shohei. I think everybody kind of gravitates towards him, whether it's baseball or not. Everyone wants to pick his brain because, I mean, guy's a freak and knows a lot about this game. So I think everybody kind of wants to be around him, and he's a fun guy to be around, as far as I can tell.
So you in AAA when you were pitching, I know that they're in Salt Lake, and I've heard from a couple guys that were playing in AAA last year that ended up playing out west. They were telling me about how the ball absolutely flies out there compared to like out here, out east. And I'm sure what you were used to at Auburn, the ball probably doesn't fly as well. Did that ever was that ever a factor for you? Like that you knew that like playing in a park like the one in Salt Lake just with, did that ever factor into anything? Because I've heard from a few guys, like I guess hitters especially that have been on the show, they were just like, hey, when we go out west, like that ball flies. Like Did that ever get in your head as a pitcher?
I mean, for me, I like to throw four seams at the top of the zone, and the hardest thing about pitching in Salt Lake or really a lot of the PCL. You include Reno in that, you include Sacramento, like all these places, the ball flies and it's thin air, and one of the biggest factors of that is your stuff doesn't move as much. Everybody talks about off the bat the ball flies more, but if you throw a fastball in Alabama that's got 20 inches of ride, and then you go to Salt Lake, all of a sudden it's got 15, 16. So, I definitely, when I first got to AAA, I struggled. I think my first two starts in Reno were, I think I gave up like 22 runs in two starts. And it was kind of like a welcome to AAA moment. And, but it was something I needed. I needed to learn how to pitch more and, really learn how to use my fastball, not only at the top of the zone, but at the bottom. And I think through high A and double A, I pretty much just lived with fastballs at the top and threw curveballs off of it and had a lot of success. And all of a sudden it's you get to AAA and guys are getting to that pitch. And so it really forced me to learn how to pitch more and use all four quadrants of the zone and, throw my off-speed stuff more. And ultimately it made me a better pitcher. And I think is a big part of the reason why I've had success ever since I was able to make that adjustment. But I mean, it definitely, when I was sitting in Reno and gave up, 20 something runs in two starts, it was definitely in my head a little bit of like, holy cow, this is different for sure.
Yeah, I was. We had actually a guy from your agency, Nick Mears, on the show a week or two ago, and he obviously pitching in Colorado right now. And it was kind of funny too, because I was going to bring it up earlier when you were talking about the jog in from the bullpen. He was talking about how his jog is in Colorado, so he's already huffing and puffing when he gets to the mound. His hands are on his knees. And then the pitch clock's already going. So you just got to get up and go, man.
Yes.
But I know that he was kind of talking about that some of his pitches became league average pitching in Colorado compared to like when you would pitch in Philadelphia. It's like something to think about. I always thought it was interesting that, hearing from hitters as well is like, we love hitting out there. So I can only imagine what the pitcher was thinking like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ed, I have a speed run, but if you got some things that you want to get to.
Oh no, I'm ready for the speed run. We still haven't named it.
I haven't named it, man. I gotta find somebody creative enough to name this. But Davis, I have a speed run of questions. I think we can get through them in I think we can get through them in like 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes tops.
Right.
Just depends how crazy you want to get, but so I'm hoping you're ready.
Perfect.
All right, let's do this. Are you a movies, shows, or live TV guy?
Mostly TV shows. I love going to the movies. I'm not a huge movie nerd though.
Okay. If you had a song to be your walkout in 2024, what would it be?
Thunderstruck.
People are going to play a drinking game out of that one. All right, you're a young guy still. So by the age of 30, you want to have accomplished what?
Have a family, have some kids, and own a house, and have some success in the big leagues, and hopefully, be a couple-time All-Star.
If there was one rule in the MLB or minors that you could change, what would it be?
And minors, get rid of the ABS. I don't like that one bit.
Okay.
In the big leagues, they're going to this 18-second clock. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the ninth inning of a tight game at the end of the season, but we'll see.
I did have a quick follow-up, though. I do want to ask, give me like your best reasoning why you don't like the ABS.
I mean, it becomes very hard to pitch at the top of the zone with fastball. I mean, it changes hitter to hitter, whereas typically when you're throwing to an umpire, you can kind of figure out his zone by the first or second inning and kind of live there. And now all of a sudden you can throw a pitch in one spot and throw it in the exact same spot to the next hitter, and all of a sudden it's a ball. And so it's a little harder to figure out where the zone is. But I guess it's right every time. So
it's fair. Did you at least like the challenge system at all?
I definitely like the challenge system better. The challenge
Okay.
system was good. I'm 1 for 1 on challenges.
Ooh, okay. That's a good stat. You go to a pitching coach and be like, listen, man, like, you trust me, all right? If that ever gets to the bigs, which who knows, it might.
I threw a 3-1 fastball for a ball 4, and I challenged it knowing it was probably my last hitter. They called it a strike. Next pitch, slider, triple down the right field line. So I probably should have just taken it.
Hey, but you won the challenge at least. You
Yeah,
can still
so-
say you don't have to tell anybody about that other part.
Exactly. 1 for 1.
All right. Favorite athlete outside of baseball?
Bo Jackson, Auburn guy.
Fair. Favorite TV show of all time?
Friday Night Lights.
Okay. What's the weirdest baseball superstition that you've ever had?
In college, we went to Kentucky, and I found a penny on heads outside of the dugout before the first game, and then I think it was Kentucky, and then we went on like a nine game win streak, and then I lost it on a bus ride home, and we lost the next 3, and it was definitely my fault.
Oh man. Did you at least
What's
let the
something
team
that
know?
you've
You're like,
learned?
sorry?
Oh, sorry.
Do what?
Oh, I was just gonna say, did you at least tell the team you were sorry for that? For those your bad?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It was
Sorry.
What's something
go
that
ahead.
you've learned about baseball since you've been drafted that you didn't know before?
I really didn't get into analytics or anything in college. Like I knew where my stuff played. Like I knew that pitching at the top of the zone was good and pitching other places wasn't as good for me, but I didn't really know the reasons why. So getting into pro ball and really breaking that stuff down really gave me a lot more confidence in where to pitch and how to pitch certain hitters. And so I think that was the biggest thing in pro ball for me for sure.
All right, I got a few more of my. Sorry, I went over the 3 to 4 minutes, but I have a layup for you. So I want you to get creative with this one. I want to know who is the best player that you've played with or against that's left you being like, holy cow, that guy is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Shohei and Mike Trout. Trying to think like under the radar guy that maybe isn't talked about as much. Let's think. Played with a lot. And Rengifo is a really, really solid player. I mean, guy can hit and play some serious defense. Not to mention he's absolutely jacked. Guy gets it and plays some really good baseball. I think he's a really good under the radar type player.
Just in general, great answer. He figured out how to walk last year too. Like he's drawing walks now. He's hitting home runs. Good feel. He can play all over the field. I love that answer.
Yeah, that's why I said the let's think outside the box, because obviously it's going to be Shohei or Mike Trout. But, all right, so I like that. That's exactly what we needed there. I need a guilty pleasure of Davis Daniel.
Chocolate chip cookies. Can't turn them down.
Quick with it.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I need a go-to pregame snack.
Go-to pregame snack. I'm pretty easy. Typically, it's just like a granola bar and a Red Bull, like right before I go out. If they've got the Uncrustable PB&Js, that's probably the go-to.
I've had so many people say Uncrustables. Like I think Jake Faria said that he got them taken away from him last year because he was eating too many. The nutritionist was like, no, like we need like a banana or something in there.
Oh yeah, they're always there in the home clubhouse, but sometimes on the road they're a little harder to get. So it's usually granola bars on the road and PB&Js at home.
Fair. If you had the ability to do, you got to pick one. So you either, I don't know if you're a golf guy. Are you a golf guy?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have the ability to shoot consistent 75 when you go out, or would you rather have the ability to dunk a basketball?
I mean, I feel like at this point in my life, basketball is too far in my past. I can play golf for a long time, That 75 would
Fair.
be nice. Take a lot of money.
Yeah. I heard somebody ask that question to somebody, and they're like, dunking a basketball would be pretty freaking cool. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Oh yeah.
I'm only like 6'1". I know I saw you were listed at 6'1", so I'm like, I know you're probably not. You probably never dunked before like me. I don't know, gotten close, but
Yeah, if I throw it at the rim, maybe.
yeah. All right.
You guys saying you're only 6'1", only over 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, Ed's a little short king over there. It's all good. I got 2 more questions left for you, the speed run, then Ed, you can finish this off here. But I need your worst topping to put on a pizza.
I mean, the easy one's pineapple, but a lot of people love it. I'm not a pineapple fan.
Okay.
I'm trying to think like worst that I've had. I'm not a mushroom guy. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm with you. Not on a
Same.
pizza, especially.
Yeah.
It's like save that for like a mushroom Swiss burger or something, like, or a stir fry or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Final question here of the speed run. That's not really a speed run, but it's most important. You went to Auburn. You're an SEC guy. I have a lot of faith for you. I need your favorite fast food fried chicken chain.
Chick-fil-A, easy.
Okay, that's
go.
upsetting.
Let's
That's
go.
really upsetting. All right. Well, the correct answer was Zaxby's. Like, come on, man.
No, he got
Well,
it. He got it. I'm gonna. You know what I'm doing after this? I'm having
Come
some
on.
chicken nuggets with some delicious Chick-fil-A sauce. So
Come on.
I'm.
can't
Don't
be-
let him shame you. Don't let him shame you, Davis.
I know there's like a different category. You got Zaxby's and Guthrie's and Cane's. It's like of those Zaxby's, but like they're not even in the same category as Chick-fil-A.
Oh, come on, man. I mean, it's like you have to embrace that though. Like, I know, like, I always thought it was weird that there was Zaxby's in Columbia, Missouri. And I remember like looking at their website one time. I'm like, why is this like it's all down in the South? I'm like, why is there randomly like 2 in Columbia? And they put on there proudly in every SEC town. So I was like, okay, so they had to put them in Columbia. But I don't know. I just like that's like a Southern thing. It's like you have Zaxby's, like that's your thing.
I do love Zaxby's. It's actually typically it's my first meal when I get home in the off season. Last 2 years it was Zaxby's, but Chick-fil-A you can get anywhere, So I go 8 months without Chick-fil-A. I mean, without Zaxby's, I got to get it.
Okay. See, I like that. I guess one last food one, since you do play on the West Coast, like, are you like in on the In-N-Out Whataburger thing? Are you even like?
I mean, it's okay. Like I like In-N-Out. My only problem is that people try and compare In-N-Out to like Five Guys. And like those even aren't in the same category. Like if you're talking just how good is the burger, Five Guys is way better. Obviously, you can bring up the price and all that stuff, but like if you're just handing me 2 burgers, it's not even close.
I'm with you. I know it's controversial, but I know Ed's got feelings on In-N-Out Whataburger type stuff. But
I mean, I like them both. I'm good with both of them.
I agree, but at the whole like the clashing, I don't know. I know it's like a Texas versus California thing, but I have one baseball related question. And Ed, if you have anything you want to,
I mean, I have a non-baseball question for you, and it's just that we had the same experience here going from the East Coast to the West Coast, specifically Tempe. What was the biggest culture shock for you when you got there?
The biggest culture shock for me, the biggest like where in the world am I moment was, I'd been out here for a few months and it was like opening weekend of college football, and I wake up at 7 a.m. and I'm pumped because with the time change here, college game day comes on at 7 a.m. and I'm like ready to roll. And I walk outside, and where I lived was like 2 streets from downtown Tempe. Like I'm like can basically see the stadium from my front porch, and they play an 11 o'clock game, and there's nobody outside. I'm like, what is happening? Like Auburn, Alabama, the entire city shuts down on game days. Like that's all there is to do. So it was a pretty wild. Like wow, they really don't care out here.
It is interesting.
I was like looking up ticket prices. You could like sit in upper deck for $5.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I went to UMass after there. Didn't cost any money to go to games there.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's just no, they don't take it nearly as seriously.
Yeah, it was definitely like a wake up moment of I need to get back in the South for football season.
Yeah, no, it's I went to the Mizzou played at BC actually like 2 years ago, last year. I forgot when it was 2 years ago. And I went, the stadium was like almost empty. It was like, I'm like, dude, this is an SEC team playing up in Boston right now. It's like, I thought everybody would come out. Nobody cared. Everybody really cares about college hockey up here. So
It's crazy.
a little crazy, but
my other question for you: if you weren't a baseball player, what would you want to be doing?
I went to school and to do business analytics, and my dream after baseball has always been to work in a front office. But that's still baseball related. If it wasn't baseball at all, I don't know. I don't have a backup plan for that one.
I kind of like that answer, though.
too.
It makes me happy that you're doing exactly what you want to be doing.
Absolutely, very blessed.
and no second thoughts there. I like that. I have one last question before we let you go, and it's baseball related. Obviously, you're in spring training now. You're battling for a spot right now on the big league roster. So I guess what I want to end it with is just what kind of things are. I know Ed asked you earlier. It's like, do you approach the spring training differently? Already having the time, some time in, but I guess now that you're kind of fighting for a spot, you're trying to make the big league roster. What kind of things are you doing to like prep yourself and get ready for 2024?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for me is just be where my feet are. I think I got to just stay in the moment, stay day to day. It's really easy this time of year to think like, oh, what do I need to do to be here versus here? To go to the big leagues or go to AAA, or be upset if I end up in Salt Lake versus LA or vice versa. Like there's all kinds of things that you can start to work your mind around and overthink, and really, put yourself in a spiral to craziness. But for me, it's just be where my feet are, continue to get better every day, and do the work that I can every day, and hopefully that takes me where I want to be. And if not, we'll be where my feet are when I end up, and just continue to work and try and get back there.
Well, Davis, we appreciate all the time you gave us. Kind of happy the Wi-Fi held up too. So that's shout out to the hotspot over there. So, but like I said, we appreciate all the time and thank you for hopping on.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much. It was fun.